Hello, everybody. Happy Friday to all of you. Thank you so much for being here on the Akashic Academy. And of course, the Expansion Point episode today is all about viewer questions. So I want to welcome everybody again to the Expansion Point. Hello, everybody on the chat. So I'm going to be taking questions from the audience here. So questions from the chat, if you guys do have any questions. If you guys aren't familiar with the Expansion Point, again, you can go onto the Akashic Academy Facebook page, and you can find the playlist that's on the page there. And you can look through the episodes. I've talked about a whole bunch of different topics. This would be the 19th episode today. Also, with the 19th episode, this is going to be the final episode for the winter holiday season. So I'm going to be coming back in middle of January. I'm going to be going to Egypt here in a couple weeks to check out, of course, the pyramids, a lot of the ruins, the temples, everything. It's going to be a really great trip. And of course, I'm taking a little bit of a break through the Christmas holidays. I'm working on putting together some really amazing new projects. So I'm really, really excited to looking into that. But again, guys, if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and post it here on the chat. There are, again, a couple questions I'm going to go off with because there have been some people that have emailed me with some questions. So we're going to start from there, and then we can move on to the chat room to see if anybody, or say the chat room, but the posted chat. And if anybody does have any questions, you guys can feel free to ask. That's why we're here. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's the morning here. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time, so I'm in Vancouver. Yeah, Krista says, hi, Brad. I made it live for once. Great. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So last week I was talking a lot about karmic law, about the nature of karma in that way. And one of the questions that would come up with karma in that sense is that we are able to change karma. Is that possible? Of course. You can always change your karma. Karma just relates to the aspect of actions. So when you move into understanding karma itself, we're looking into like footprints on the sand. The being that I channel, Adronis, has talked about it a lot like this, is that once you walk upon the sand, when you cast those footprints, you look back. But the whole idea in that sense is you're able to change direction. You're able to move into any direction you wish. You don't have to feel like you are trudging along in the sand and feeling like you're going nowhere. When you're looking at your aspect of karma, karma itself is always interchangeable. Now, there are two different things to really understand here when it comes to the aspect of karma. With karma, we basically have life lessons, and we have the aspect of choice. So there's kind of a difference between those two. So karmic life lessons and choice. Now, choice is completely flexible. We are able to take choice wherever we want to go with it. We're able to explore and maneuver ourselves into any area of life that we wish. But when we're moving into life lessons, those are unavoidable. Okay? So basically, if a life lesson here is that for a soul to incarnate again and feel that they want to discover how to love more, how to become more compassionate, that's part of their life theme. That's unchangeable, right? You can't change that. Now, basically, you're utilizing the aspect of choice, or as Adronis would say, utilizing the power of decision, to being able to experience that and being able to learn how to become more loving. Now, basically, there can be obstacles that's preventing you from being more loving and being more compassionate. There's the idea of one feeling a lack of value within themselves, feeling rejection, feeling abandonment, feeling abuse. And that is basically what they are challenged with. And they're looking to learn how to develop more of a compassionate life. So you can't change that. You can't change that aspect of feeling that I'm here to learn how to love, right? And you can't try to bypass that. That becomes the karmic life lesson. So with the karmic life lesson, that is something that we're always striving towards. We're looking to become that frequency. Once we become the frequency, then that's one of our soul contracts that have represented a state of completion. So with that state of completion that comes together, there may be other particular forms of life lessons within your reality. Maybe it's about the idea, okay, well, I've done really, really good with learning how to love deeply. Maybe I need a deeper connection with family. Maybe I need a deeper connection with a soulmate. Whatever that may be. That too can be an added upon life lesson. So we basically come to this planet because we have life lessons to learn. Now, Dronos always says about looking into your nature rather than the aspect of your purpose. when you start to look into your nature, you start to look into many different possibilities. All of these different roads, these avenues that are opening up and helping you to get more of a clearer understanding about what you can express about yourself to go through these particular life lessons and being able to move into them into a state of completion. Now, some of these life lessons we keep coming back to learn again and again and again and again because some of us may not get it. We may start to just tangentially touch that aspect of life lesson, but we keep reincarnating again and again and again, a lifetime after lifetime, until the lesson that we know we are here to accomplish therefore becomes accomplished. This is how you therefore move on past the earth plane, and you can go into any other particular dimension you want. Now, of course, when you leave the earth, when you transition, and you return back to spirit, what happens is that you go outside the density dimensional matrix bubble, and you're basically just looking outside of it like this. So if you want to go back in and play the game, you're just basically picking up where you left off. But as a spirit, you're outside of time, you're outside of space, you're outside of matter, you're outside of dimension and density, and you're looking down, and you truly become timeless. And it's almost like you're standing with the angels. You're standing with your higher dimensional consciousness. And you're looking down and saying, that is an experiment. That is a game. This is where souls come to understand themselves, to go deeper into themselves. It's the realm of awareness. It's the realm of being, that aspect of self-awareness, to understanding more about yourself. It's like looking through a microscope and understanding more about how the soul, how the spirit, how consciousness itself can behave, how it can work, how it can express itself, how it can experience itself. That is where that happens. So then we'll come down and we'll incarnate again and saying, yeah, I want to scrutinize more with my soul's expression. So I'm going to go back into that game altogether. So this is again the whole idea about us being able to move into understanding our karma, understanding our life lessons. So we basically have those two premises relating to the idea of karmic life lessons and, of course, choice. So very, very powerful information that I've received from Adronis about that. So guys, I'm just going to go to the questions now. So if you guys do have any questions, don't be shy, don't be bashful. Go ahead and you can ask your questions. That's no problem. That's why I'm here. Okay, here's one here from Joyce. At that point, wouldn't we be one of the angels? Absolutely, because you're basically an angel yourself being with the other angels. So you could look at it as the archangels, you could look at it as connecting back with God in that particular way. When we transition and when we move back beyond the aspect of space and time and matter and dimension and density, we're now connecting back to the essence of God, right? We're there. And this is, again, what many do, right? Some people who decide to stay within the matrix do so because they're very attached to things. They're attached to their emotions. They're attached to the physical realm. But basically, really, when you decide, when the time comes, when you transition past the physical body, just tell your angels to come and get you. That's all you have to do, right? What many people will notice is that people that are often in hospitals or just on their last breath, people who are very, very sensitive energetically will notice that many of their loved ones and their angels are standing right by them before the physical body is about to extinguish, is about to perish. And basically these angels will surround the individual in question and they'll take them up, right, just in the last breath that they take. And they take them up, and they take them up past space, time, matter, dimension, density, past the matrix realm. And they're actually just looking outside, right? Now, there have also been some people who have talked about, when going through the quote-unquote death experience, that there's some sort of devious or deceptive white light that some people shouldn't go into. So basically, when that being has passed on, and they come into the void, and they see that there's this white light here. Some people are saying, well, this may be a soul trap. This may be some particular type of deception that comes together in that way. But basically, what I would say altogether is that when that time comes for one to transition past their physical body and back into their spiritual self, just summon your angels to come and get you. That's it. So if you're, again, whenever that moment does happen, where you're not too sure about the white light, right? Because we've heard a lot of people talking about it, saying it's a it's a deception, it's a trap. Once you step in it, you're just going back into the reincarnation cycle again. I couldn't tell you, right? Jonas doesn't really think that that's basically what's happening, but there can be certain forms of opportunities that take place that can bring about the cycle of incarnation again. But really what I would suggest to those that are, one day, it's going to happen to us all, is being able to just call up your angels, call your angels to you, right? And just saying, come and get me, come and take me, right? And so you can bypass that whole experience if you're uncertain about that aspect of the white light. Because basically what happens is once you transition, your angels are going to come and collect you anyways. They're going to collect your mind matrix, and they're going to collect your spirit, and then they're going to take you off, right? Every single being has this. Every single being goes through this experience. Two angels come. You could basically see the guardian angel of mind and the guardian angel of spirit. They come in and they take your mind matrix and they take your spirit and they return you back into the source, right? So now you're looking outside of the matrix and now you're connecting in that particular way and you're looking down and saying, maybe I'll be of assistance to somebody. Maybe I'll connect to a loved one on Earth, and I'll be a guide for them. Maybe I'll look into working with dream guides in that way, whatever it may be. You can basically do whatever you want when you're in that space. So this is kind of what's leading into, the aspect of karma to what happens when we transition. But again, when you're in that level of peace, when you're going into allowing your angels to come through and connect with you, and bringing you into the expanse, the true, the expansion point, maybe, source consciousness. Now you're just looking down at that. So you're not actually a part of that matrix anymore. Now you can be, if you decide to, again, incarnate again, go back, you pick up where you left off, right? But again, you have that ability to just call in your angels to get them to come and collect you and bring you outside of the matrix. And now you're connecting back with source consciousness. Now, basically what happens is, because many of us have the human experience, the human personality in that sense, when we go back to source, it's very, very beautiful. But the thing is, many of us get bored there, because it's almost like you're looking at heaven and the beauty of it all together, but nothing really happens. It's kind of like you're just looking at bliss in that way. And many of us, again, who have that kind of analytical mind, that logical side of ourselves, get bored. And then we want to go back into the experiment again and say, I'm going to go incarnate again. I'm going to go have an adventure. I'm going to have an experience. Because heaven is just heaven. It's just the idea that, it's bliss, it's beautiful, but there's nothing happening. There's no sequence in regards to challenge or anything of that nature. You're simply floating in bliss, right? So many souls decide to do this. They say, I'm going to come out of heaven, I'm going to go back into the matrix, and I'm going to have another lifetime. Because that's exciting to me. I'm going to have another journey again. Heaven says, go ahead. Have a blast. Enjoy yourself, right? That's it. So this is something, again, that I've actually heard from people who have had loved ones who have passed on, who have come back, who have shared themselves about what is going on as well, too. Again, a lot of the information also from Adronis about what's being shared beyond this realm as well, too. So it's a very, very beautiful thing. We don't have to really look into this idea of being so afraid of hell, of a hell dimension. Because we create that ourselves, right? We create our own hells. We create our own despair, our own challenges. So again, when you completely surrender and you allow yourself for your angels to come through, collect you, and bring you back up into source consciousness, in that manner of speaking, then you look at a whole new wonder of how life is. Of course, once you incarnate on the earth plane again, you go through that blank slating, right? But because a lot of the veil on the planet right now is going through kind of a thinness, we're noticing that a lot of new children that are coming upon the planet are starting to recall a lot of their past life memories. So they're actually starting to remember a lot of their lifetimes. Just in my own particular experience, connecting with the Akashic Records as well, too. Looking back at some of my lifetimes as well, too, but not in the finest form of detail. I basically get kind of like summaries about what I've gone through in other particular lifetimes. So the veil is going to thin so much to the point that in the upcoming generations, children will know exactly the type of lifetimes that they've lived. So maybe again, the time comes for me to kick the bucket and I go back up into source consciousness and say, yeah, I'm going to go back down to earth again. It'll be fun. I'll have another experience. And then I come back into a new body. I may remember this life. I was, oh, hey, I was Brad. I was on the Akashic Academy. I remember doing a Q&A with these guys. That's great. So that's basically what's happening, is that the veil is thinning so much. And again, we're starting to remember other lifetimes. We're becoming much more multidimensionally aware. And I've actually just done a video on my YouTube channel that talks about the flow of multidimensionality. Adronis came through and started talking about it, and it was quite helpful. And really what it entailed was all about learning how to connect to the different multidimensional facets through the connection, the rapport, the relationship of our feelings all together. So let me go down this line here to see if there's any questions here. I'm kind of gossiping here too much. Krista says, my grandma saw her son, my dad, when he passed away. He told her he'd see her soon. She passed shortly after. Yes, and of course that does happen. Like I said, sometimes parents, loved ones that pass away, will give a message to the loved ones. But what they'll do is they may have to talk to somebody else to basically convey that message. So sometimes if that person's not open enough, they will find somebody in the family or in association to the family that's quite open, and then they'll pass that knowledge on. They'll pass that message on. And said that, well, he just said, well, he'll see you soon. So, right? And then, of course, she passes on, and she moves back into that connection together with her father. So absolutely, once you transition, you have the ability to connect with your relatives, your loved ones, and you can do whatever you want with them. This is what happens, is that many of us take much of our soul connections, the beings that really work well with us, and saying, hey, let's have another life. Let's write another life together, right? I'll be a brother, you be a sister, or I'll be your husband, you can be my wife, right? Whatever it is. And you're creating these soul agreements. You say, well, we're going to come down here because we're both learning how to learn more about love, so why don't we become a couple in this lifetime? I'll be the husband, you be the wife, or you be the wife, I'll be the husband, and then we'll have kids, and we'll live in Australia, whatever it is, right? And we're writing our lives together. But as soon as we write that, boom, and we go into that stream of incarnation, everything that we feel we've written, we don't have access to, because now we're condensing ourselves, right? Consciousness becomes condensed. Our soul becomes condensed. And then we move into this realm. And again, as I said, the veil is thinning. And again, you may remember other particular forms of incarnations to give you a clue, but it's a game. It's like coming here and you're trying to figure out a really big puzzle, right? Like someone just dumped this, 10,000 piece puzzle on your desk, and you're trying to figure out where to put every single piece without even knowing what the picture is supposed to look like, right? That's the idea of coming here, and you're trying to put this piece together, and other people will start working with you, and you're trying to put all of these pieces together. That's really the whole idea. It's a puzzle. It's a game to really being able for the soul to understand itself. So like I said, there can be a lifetime that can be the most horrible lifetime ever. The soul will not die from that lifetime, right? It was a very, very intense lifetime. It was a very dense lifetime, but the soul learned a lot from it, because it was realizing, well, that facet of myself was really holding on to a lot of things, and now it's going to learn how to transcend those hard times, and coming more into compassion, love, and forgiveness. And so now the other lifetimes ahead, they are working off a lot of that aspect of karma relating to denseness. But again, the soul is looking at this and saying, this is just a puzzle, right? When I return back to source consciousness, I'm an infinite loving being surrounded by heaven, surrounded by beautiful connections to the infinite. So I'm not concerned about the idea of what happens to this life if it's something that's disastrous, because that again is a fractal version of myself, that I'm learning from, right? This is from the soul's perspective, right? So the soul looks at that and saying, okay, well, that was a lifetime that was pretty dense. So I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to clear it all up. I feel I know exactly where a lot of these puzzle pieces are going to fit this time. So that's, again, how we're looking at it, again, from the soul's perspective when it comes to lifetimes. It really is just one big game. Okay, so just going down a little bit more here on the chat. Lilac Moon says, I feel since my father passed in 2003 that he is now one of my guides. Absolutely. This is what you'll find quite commonly, again, with your family. Your loved ones, again, who you just had such loving, care, compassionate energies for, they're always around you because they feel that with you as well, too. So they'll go back up into heaven in that sense. And they'll look back down and say, I just want to be there for my daughter. I want to guide her through the entire process right now. I want to be as much help to her as I can. And absolutely, right? The angelic consciousness will work together with that loved one, and they may help him or her to come back and work with you either in dream time, in meditation, in awoken life in certain ways, bringing in synchronicities. Right, the whole idea is that there's a rule, though, of course. There's a rule of non-interference, right? That soul just can't come into your life and just start telling you everything that you have to do, right? Because that would violate the law of non-interference. We're on a law of non-interference because this is a school. Earth is a masterful school. It is a grand university. So we're not just having souls coming up and popping and saying, oh, here's what you have to do. Here's your cheat sheet about how you can beat this incarnation, right? You can't do that, right? So there is a lot of personal restriction in regards to what can be shared, but they can tell you, quite a bit of things. But really what they're here to do is just send you a lot of love to where they are. And from the beings that I've connected to, because I've had clients come to me and say, I'm just wondering how my mom is doing. My mom passed away. My mom transitioned, about a year ago, and I'm just wondering how she's doing. And pretty much every single being that I'm able to connect with is in complete and total bliss. Right? Or they're going through some very powerful healing. Right now, when you're back as your natural self, you're not suffering anymore, right? The physical life is much more like death than death is, right? That's the key here, is that we're looking much more at being in this physical body, having this physical life is much more of a limiting state. When you transition from this body and you return back to source consciousness, you're not suffering, right? You're expansive now. You're returning back to your natural self. So really, when we mourn for a person that leaves, it's more so that we're mourning for ourselves. We feel like we're being left behind. They're going back into, the greatness of source consciousness, and we're feeling like we're stuck here and saying, oh, no, it feels empty without their presence. But the whole idea is that their presence hasn't left you, right? I've had people who have passed away too, family members, friends, who I felt very connected with. And I realized that, they're still around me. There's still people that I have a great love for and appreciation for and compassion for that have left this planet. And I'm actually much more happy for them right now. I'm remembering a lot of the memories, a lot of the great love and challenges I've had, right? My father passed away a few years ago, and we were going through a lot of challenges. We were able to make a lot of amends prior to his passing. But we had a very, very difficult life together. We were fighting quite a bit. But it's just at that point where you know that he's returning as a soul. And even I was able to check up on him, and he's basically getting help as well, too, with another woman in source consciousness. So he's receiving a lot of assistance because he led a quite painful life, but he's getting help. And again, it's just looking at this expansiveness of this great state of awareness that really helps a loved one out. So they're really not suffering up there. When they're suffering, there's so much help, so much assistance that comes through. And that's the nature of compassion. Compassion is that hand that reaches through the shadows, takes yours and say, come with me. Right? So that's the difference between love and compassion. Compassion is actually the much more higher frequency. The reason being is because love is this pure acceptance. It's just simply what is. It's pure acceptance. It's pure appreciation. It's love and acceptance for all that is. Then shadow lives beneath it, right? It's the opposite. It's the aspect of conditionality. It's the aspect of restriction, limitation, etc. But what compassion does is it's like this film that lives just above love. And what it does is something that love can't do. Love won't go into the darkness plane and try to pull darkness out to come into light. It can't do that. But compassion does that. So compassion is like this thin layer of film that exists just above love. And right above compassion is God. So what compassion will do is it'll go through love, it'll go up through it'll go down to the shadows, it'll take your hand, and it'll pull you out. This is why compassion is actually a much more stronger vibration than love is. Because what compassion is it is further deeply refined love that has been refined through suffering. Okay, love itself, again, is just that pure light, that pure acceptance. But when we're going in through the shadow to come back into love, we're not actually just going into love, we're going into compassion. Compassion becomes the highest frequency that's right next to God. And that's because compassion goes into the suffering. It was born through suffering. Love itself, in that sense, again, is just that state of acceptance. It wasn't born through suffering. But when you're being born through suffering, when you're going into the shadows, and you're learning everything about yourself from these shadows, and learning what you're not, now compassion picks you up, it pulls you in, and now you're moving into the higher aspects of love. You're moving into that film of compassion. This is why we say that when we become compassionate workers, you're the most powerful worker there is, right? There's nothing more powerful than one who has that energy of compassion. It's the most powerful, strongest frequency there is right next to God. So that too is a beautiful realization. Okay, just checking on some of the questions here. Krista says, do you think they reincarnate back into the same family? For example, a grandchild. That's a good question. It really depends upon the soul. The soul can certainly reincarnate back into a family line. I've actually talked to quite a few people who have felt that their grandmother, in that sense, has now become their granddaughter, or their grandfather has become their grandson. That definitely does happen. But that doesn't have to be a necessity. It's really the soul's choice. Really, when it comes down to the point, there's no automatic function here. Everything in regards to one's own life to reincarnate again is based upon one's choosing. So a person can choose to go back into the family line if they feel that a lot of what they want to learn more about will come through that family line again. So yes, there can be people that can go back to those family generations to be part of the next generation in that way. And there may be some people that will go to different family lines. They may feel that there's actually a lot more that this particular family offers that will help me to experience what I want to experience. My life lessons, my choices will come really good from this family instead. So that too is certainly a possibility as well. So again, really when we're looking into reincarnation again, it's all about choice, right? Nothing is ever forced upon a soul. The soul chooses everything. So it can get help, it can get guidance in that way, relating to what the type of lifetime it wants to pick out. But again, it's all about you. You're the one that puts the stamp on it and says, okay, I'm going to go back into this family line again and clear it up, right? And so you go. So basically, because we are running out of time, I would just kind of put this last particular point. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to as well have talked about coming into families that they felt have not been very, very loving, where they've had like an abusive father, they've had a neglected mother, they've had siblings that have been very uncaring, and they wonder, how the heck did I get involved with this particular type of family? Well, the whole key here is that certain family lines that are very, very dense with certain karma will actually have an angelic being that will come into their own incarnation cycle of generation to clean up a great deal of karma within this family line. So if you feel that you have incarnated into a family that just says, oh, I don't know, I love my family, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know how to relate to these guys. I don't know how to build rapport with them. They're very, very different. I just feel like I'm very much into spirituality and health and consciousness, and they're all about the materialism, the ego, the money, having to buy all these things, etc. And I don't care about any of that. How did I end up with this family? Well, here's the key, is that your family that you're connected to are again teaching you how to open up your compassion centers a great deal more. And you're teaching them how to become more compassionate through the compassion that you open up, right? That's the equivalent exchange here, right? So they're showing you all of these aspects of blockades, of denseness, that you are now starting to realize and saying, you know what, all I'm going to do is just love them for who they are. I'm just going to bring them compassion. Even if they don't agree with what I'm doing, even if there's been fights and skirmishes and conflicts in the past, I don't care. I'm going to just open up my heart because they're showing me everything that I'm not. And I'm so appreciative for that. And now the compassion opens up. And now through the result of that compassion, you're bringing love to them. You're just loving them for the sake of loving them. And that's why they love you as well, right? They may be the most densest person you may notice, But they know that when they're around you, they still love you so much because you have that open heart. You have that big heart. You're like a shining light for them. Well, that's what you're doing. You're coming here to clear out generations of heavy, dense karma out of their family line. And then when the upcoming generations come together, now it's more like angelic-like beings that are incarnating here into this family line as a result of the karmic energy that you're clearing out as a compassion worker. Right? So that's really the niche about why you're coming into this family line and that specific task that you're doing, building up your heart space and being that ray of light for many of the family members that are going through tough times, and they're continuing to teach you about everything that you're not. That's equivalent exchange. And so very, very powerful understanding there as well. Okay, guys, I wish we had more time, but I am out of time right now, so I want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the final season of the Expansion Point. Again, I'll be coming back in mid-January for Season 2 for the Expansion Point. We're going to probably make some new changes to the look of the show as well, too. But again, feel free to stay tuned on the Akashic Academy. The Feng Shui Lady is happening here on Friday. Of course, we got a lot of exciting shows on the Akashic Academy, so make sure you're continuing to check them out. Make sure you're subscribing, press the like button, share it around. Let's make the Akashic Academy a beautiful, amazing place to be for other people to enjoy as well. Okay? Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy your winter holiday, your Christmas, your solstice, everything. Everything in between. And, of course, a Happy New Year as well. And I'll speak to you again all in 2019, or, of course, another perspective of the now. Take care.